Thanks for joining us on Tapped Into Magic. I'm your host, Austin.
And I am Logan.
And we are a casual podcast here to talk to you about, all things casual magic, specifically Commander in a new format called Oathbreaker. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. But first, since this is our first episode, we just want to kind of do a little introduction and introduce ourselves, who we are, how we started Magic, and just kind of our play styles and things like that.
Yeah, it's very important to learn actually who you're watching and why you might want to watch the people on YouTube. And we feel like, just connecting with our audience a little bit more about who we actually are as players is a good thing. So, you want to start off on where we started?
I was the one who started with Magic since I'm the older brother. I got my first Magic cards in 2006. It was like a Time Spiral pre-made deck or pre-constructed deck from Time Spiral, and all I remember is it was a knight deck, and it had this card called Pentarch Paladin, which was a knight. Basically, he was like 2 white, so it was super expensive, and you choose a color when he comes into play, and then you can pay 2 white and tap him to destroy a permanent of the chosen color. So not the greatest card ever, but I thought it was super cool because it was a bunch of knights, and I had just gotten into Magic. So, it was exciting.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy. I looked that one up. Yeah.
He's fun, and he's cool looking. I like Time Spiral block because it's extra... it's extra dark, and all the artwork in it's pretty dark, and I think that's pretty cool. But when I got those cards, I didn't really know how to play, and other friends got some cards too, and we pretended like we knew how to play, but we didn't actually know. So we were just kind of messing around. I don't know what we were really doing. We didn't know what these lands things were and why were they so plain looking. Like, didn't really know.
You were playing a plains deck.
You're
playing mono white.
Yeah. I know
That's
that
what
now.
all those plain.
I know that now. But at the time, didn't know what all these lands were. But we didn't actually learn how to play until about a year later. And that's when I, got Logan into it too, to play because, Magic's no fun if you don't have anyone to play with. And what was that? When it was around 10th edition?
It was 2007, and in July is when 10th edition first came out. And I think I asked either our parents for money or something like that, but I went and picked up, or you got me. I think you might have gotten me this.
I didn't have a job at the time.
Okay, fair enough. It was Arcanus Guile, battle deck from Magic from 10th edition, and that has Arcanus the Omnipotent, and he's just an expensive dude who draws you lots of cards. So 3 blue for a 3/4. That taps, and you can draw 3 cards, which is good, but he's a 6-drop.
Special recall on a stick. I mean,
yeah, but it's a creature. So, and then it's 2 blue to return Arcanus the Omnipotent back to your hand. And I remember having this deck and going to our friend's house just down the street, and they had a little wooded area with a bench back there, and that's when we first started to learn how to play.
Yeah, that's when we learned how to play, and it was all kitchen table Magic. We
very
competitive. In any stretch of the imagination. So we just we collected cards what we could, built decks out of what we had, and just played together. Got some friends in the neighborhood to play with us. And it wasn't until about Return to Ravnica where we actually went to FNM and tried to get into Standard and got our butts kicked a couple times.
More than a couple.
We
never really won.
It was Return to Ravnica, and then we actually...
Yeah. It was Theros when
when we were playing Standard, which, we were playing like Black Devotion, which was a good deck in Theros meta, but...
Yeah, but not when you're running commons and uncommons, so...
Yeah, not when you're high school and middle and
you don't have much money, much money to spend, but I think those main decks that we started with kind of built us into the players that we are today. So going from
casual.
Well, no. I mean, like, color wise. Like, I've always been that blue player.
But I'm not a white player.
No, you're not, but you like big stompy boys.
Yeah, I'm definitely a green player myself. I love anything green. I love casting giant spells and big dumb idiots that can punch you in the face.
If I'm correct, I believe that makes you a Timmy.
It is, yeah, and that would make you a Johnny being a combo blue.
Player. But what are these?
We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But after getting our butts kicked in standard a little bit, I was listening to a podcast by Loading Ready Run, their Tap Tap Concede podcast, and they were talking about this format called Commander.
Yeah.
And Commander's basically, it's a casual format, multiplayer, 100 card singleton, which means their whole deck, there's 100 cards, and all of them, keep it in the mic, all of them have to be different except for the basic lands, and you have one legendary creature at the helm of the deck that you can cast at any time, and you kind of build your deck around there, and he's your general or the commander of your deck. And I just thought that format sounds so sweet. I mean, we get to play with all our friends at once with multiplayer.
Yeah.
Being that it's singleton, every game is different. And the games go long because it's singleton and there's multiplayer. So the games go longer, so you get more chances
magic
to play big giant spells, which is exactly what I want to do. I'm not into the whole, like, obviously I like efficient cards, but I want to cast some big spells that do a big thing. So and that's just like, I feel like what Commander's all about. So got him into it. We started playing Commander ever since.
It was a couple years after, so it was after Theros is when we started playing, or was it during Theros?
It was around Theros block.
So it was somewhere around Theros, and that's when the pre-cons really started to pick up, when Wizards actually recognized Commander as a format that people play.
Yeah, they picked up the pre-cons a little before that, but we got our first pre-cons in 2013.
Yeah.
Is when we got those. And I'm just looking up when Theros block was.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I believe that was 2011. No, 2012. Somewhere around there. It was somewhere around there.
Was it?
I'm putting my money on 13. Because I remember... It was
2012, 2013.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me that I wasn't allowed to go to an F&M event unless I won against you a certain number of times.
2013, 2014.
Yep, I remember that now. So that's when we really started getting into Commander, and from there on, that's just where we've been.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have play groups that kind of come and go, but we're always playing Commander. And that's basically just exclusively what we play now.
Yeah.
Except
I was gonna say
a new format came around that is kind of a off-spin of Commander. And it's called Oathbreaker.
Yeah, really fun. Cool. Really fun, really quick. Basically Commander in a nutshell if you don't have enough time to play Commander. So it's
like Commander Light.
Yeah, it's 60 card singleton, so same as 100 card singleton, but in Commander. This is 60. You start with 20 life. And
in Commander you have 40 life. Yeah. So it's smaller life totals, smaller decks. So the format's a little faster if you want to get more games in. And I think the flavor behind Oathbreaker itself is very cool.
No, what do you mean?
That's mainly because of the fact that you have a Planeswalker as your commander instead of a legendary creature. And also, my favorite part is that Planeswalker has a signature spell that you can cast if that Planeswalker is on the battlefield. And if you know the flavor behind playing Magic, this format seems very cool. Because when you're playing Magic, you're technically a Planeswalker fighting against another Planeswalker, slinging spells back and forth, trying to defeat the other guy or girl. And Oathbreaker takes it and makes it kind of like you have this avatar in this world that you are. And you command an army, and you can come out and then just like chuck a signature spell at someone, and it's just the flavor behind it is just awesome for me.
Yeah, and going off of just that and Oathbreaker in general, when you cast and every time you cast your Oathbreaker or your signature spell, just like in Commander, it costs 2 more.
Yes,
play.
But it goes back in the command zone, so you
automatically
always have
goes back to the command zone. So I know in one of my decks I have Beseech the Queen, which is a black. If I cast it once, it's just the 3 black. If I want to cast it again, when my Planeswalker's on the field, it's going to cost 3 black and then 2 of any other color.
Right.
So it's really fun. It's always there. It's supposed to help the deck in a way or just bring flavor to it, like you were saying.
It
But
also it makes it so that there's tons of different combinations you can make to make your deck a little different or make it focused on a different thing. Like I have, let's say a Xenagos deck, and I use Xenagos to kind of, or I'm not going to use that as an example. I'll use more Nissa. So I use the blue-green Nissa Planeswalker. She costs X blue green, and here. And what she does is she comes onto the battlefield with X counters on it, depending on how much you cast her. Yeah, loyalty. Depending on how much you paid into X. And you can +2 her to scry 2. You 0 her to reveal the top card of your library. And if it's a land, you put it onto the field or creature. Yeah. That costs less than her loyalty, I believe it is. Or you can -6 her, make 2 of your lands into 5/5 flying haste creatures.
Because flying lands make total sense.
It's awesome. I love lands. I love green, so it's pretty cool. And then the signature spell for that is Treasure Cruise, and I made it basically a Lands Matter deck. So there's a ton of lands in it, more than a usual Oathbreaker deck. And you can kind of build that Nissa either way. Like you can make it just a blue-green good stuff or big creature deck or control. But with me, with Treasure Hunt, Treasure Hunt, not Treasure Cruise. Did I say Treasure Cruise?
I'm not too sure.
All right, Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt.
Totally different things.
What it does is a 1 of any color in a blue, and you reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit a non-land card. Put all those cards in your hand. So with this deck having a ton of lands and wanting to play a ton of lands, and using Nissa and Sensei's Divining Top and things like that to manipulate the top of my library to put as many lands on the top as possible, I can draw a ton of cards, get a ton of lands, put a ton of lands on the battlefield, turn those lands into dudes, and then attack. But that's just how I wanted to build it, and it's with that combo of Nissa with Treasure Hunt that I'm able to do that. You can put Nissa with something else and make it a completely different deck.
Any other signature spell can totally twist the deck in a whole new direction.
Right.
And when it comes to Oathbreaker, where Commander kind of, I feel, it doesn't lack, but there isn't really much of a story as far as I'm aware of behind Commander. At least not out there in the universe.
With Commander, it was judges who would play casually all with each other on the back behind the scenes after events or in between events and stuff like that. And they just wanted powerful magic. Yeah. And at first, it was they could only use Elder Dragons, but then they kind of expanded into legendary creatures.
Yes, yeah, okay. So I did forget about that. But where Oathbreaker really picks up, and what I really like about it, is that it's quick and it's fast, and that's exactly where the backstory comes from. Is it's a bunch of medical professionals who wanted to sit down and play a game of Commander, but didn't have enough time at all at work during their breaks.
Yeah.
So what they did is they knocked it down to 60 cards, decided to put a Planeswalker at the helm of the deck, and then started duking it out with 20 life. It's a lot quicker. In my opinion, you get a lot more games in, too.
You get a lot more games in, and also having the smaller decks and the smaller life total, a lot more archetypes and options are available for deck building. Like Burn is suddenly viable in this format, whereas in Commander with 40 life a ton of life gain, like Burn's really hard to pull off. Mill, which you have a mill deck.
I have a mill deck, which is just really fun because you can mill 60 cards. You can't mill someone for 100 though.
You can, but you're only milling one person for 100 if you make it. So yeah, you expend all your resources and then everyone just kills you because you're milling them and they hate you. But yeah, just things like that. Like it gives more archetypes a chance in these multiplayer formats, and in this casual format, it gives more archetypes a chance, which is cool. But yeah, and then so the people behind it are called Weird Cards.
Yes,
weirdcards.org.
Yes, so we'll link them in the description.
Absolutely, and then they also have a charity.
They do. The whole point of what they're doing, and why Oathbreaker has blown up a significant amount, is not only because they built such an amazing format, but because they also have a charity behind it called Magic Kids, which will also be in the link in the description. And what it is basically is they ask people to donate old bulk cards that they're not using anymore, so commons, uncommons. You can donate good cards if you want. All of it's going to a good cause because it's going to kids that they are teaching at younger ages how to play Magic. And just behind Magic, there's a lot of life skills, life lessons, friends that you can make, talking to people, kind of breaking that ice that they're really helping out with.
It builds good social skills.
Yes.
You know, so you're able to, it helps you better communicate to people. Like he said, it gives you a reason to make friends.
Yeah.
I feel like throughout my life, if ever like I needed a friend, I could always go to a game shop and play some games of Magic or Commander and like make new friends. And it's just like, I don't know, it just gives you another avenue where some of these kids might not have that. Or they might come from homes where maybe their parents can't afford to buy them Magic cards. Or
that's a good point. Didn't even think of that.
Yeah, or things like that. Or they just, I don't know, they need an escape from what they're going through. And Magic's always a really good thing to do.
And
to do that.
I mean, us just being brought up at such a young age, like I said, I'm not too clear on where you picked it up. If you and your friends just picked it up, but I mean, I'm very grateful.
So funny story for why we decided to pick up these Magic cards. There's a book series out there called the Grey Griffin series, and we read it in middle school. Me and my friends, we all read it. And in the book series, there's this card game that they play that's similar to Magic, but not really. It's not a real card game that's out there, but they play this card game in there, and it's fantasy. And the creatures in the cards start coming to life in their real world and start trying to take over the world. And the cards are actually, that card game in that was built as the Templar Knights who were in hiding as a way to communicate between each other, and also to teach young Templar Knights how to fight these creatures. And we were just like, oh, this is awesome. So we like made this little group, called ourselves the Templars, and we got Magic cards because we were like, we want to find a game like this, and Magic was that game. So we got Magic cards and tried to learn how to play, or pretended to learn how to play.
Yeah, no,
and that's actually, I'd never told you that before. That's
new.
That's why we picked up the Magic cards, is because of that book series, because that card game seems so cool, and Magic's even better.
But all of this stuff that we're talking about can all be linked in the description. We'll put weirdcards.org down in the description. Magic Kids, all their stuff down there.
Absolutely. Yeah, go check them out. Also with Oathbreaker, on their website, they have all the rules. They have the ban list, which is different from Commander. So if you are a Commander player listening to this podcast, Oathbreaker has a slightly different ban list. Notably, Sol Ring is banned.
Yes.
Which makes sense.
Sol Ring, Mana Crypt.
I think I kind of like that because it opens up another card slot where you're always putting Sol Ring in your Commander decks. Like, I've debated taking Sol Ring out of my Commander decks to put maybe something else that synergizes better.
Yeah.
But you net 1 mana on an artifact and you can use it right away. It's hard to actually... It's so efficient. It's hard to take it out. So the fact that they banned Sol Ring, and I don't know. I like it a lot because a turn 1 Sol Ring would definitely... basically just make sure you won that game, especially in a quick format like Oathbreaker.
Like we were talking about, it's the point of adding a different twist into it. They didn't want it to seem like Commander.
And there's also a lot of cards in Commander that are banned that aren't banned in Oathbreaker. Like in my Nissa deck, I have a Prophet of Crufix. And if I get that onto the field, I kind of have the game unless they deal with it pretty quick. But yeah, go check that out. Make sure, if you're looking to build an Oathbreaker deck, which I highly suggest you do, go ahead, get your friends into it, talk to people.
Really fun.
I have a couple of decks on me whenever I go to a card shop or at home or whatever. If we have friends over or at a card shop, and talk to people about getting into Oathbreaker, share a deck with them, have them play with you, because this is an awesome format, and I'd love to see it grow. I definitely think it has more staying power than things like Brawl or Tiny Leaders or things like that.
And that's the thing, is that when I was at the card shop the other day picking up a new deck for just myself and a deck tech in the future, I was talking to one of the guys who never heard about Oathbreaker before, but I was there before, and another shopkeeper was like into me talking about Oathbreaker, and he's like, this format seems like it's just going to go down the same route as Brawl or Tiny Leaders, and we have a feeling that there's something else here. This
is a little different, and the timing that it's coming out is very interesting because War of the Spark is coming out, and it's a heavy Planeswalker set. So not only are you going to have a ton of more options as your Oathbreaker, but there's also a ton of Planeswalkers that are at uncommon, which are going to give a ton of people who might not have that much money or might want to build budget decks. It gives them an option to play a Planeswalker that's only going to be worth 25 cents, 50 cents, $1.
Yeah, because most are
cheap.
sitting...
cheap but good planeswalkers that they can play and
Yeah.
build around and things like that. It gives them that option.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about it because most planeswalkers now, if you go to the card shop, they're sitting around somewhere between $3 to $20 each.
Yeah.
So
easily.
I mean, for kids who don't have jobs, or for kids who are, like you said, homes where parents can't afford it, it'd be great to just go out and pick up a 25-cent Nissa. Nissa's not going to be 25 cents.
No, she's not. She's so good.
but a cheap planeswalker like you were talking about. Yeah. Now, the cards that we're picking up, for you guys at home who are watching the videos, you might want to know what exactly we're doing here. And we're here to not only talk about Oathbreaker and Commander, but we want to kind of give you a lowdown on what we'll be doing in the future. Mm-hmm. So, and that'll be things like deck techs.
Yep. So stay tuned on the deck techs and also some gameplay videos. Yeah. We would love to play some games, have that on YouTube. Deck techs will be on YouTube. Yeah. This podcast will be on YouTube as well as other podcast apps, because you don't really need the visuals. But make sure to check us out on YouTube, because you
can see us,
our beautiful
faces.
And
the Selesnya background that we have behind us in the realm of Ravnica.
I picked that because I'm a Selesnya mage.
You're Selesnya. But not only that, but what type of players are we? Because those at home...
we alluded to that earlier in the podcast. Yeah. So I thought it would be a very cool thing to talk about, and I haven't heard in other podcasts. Other podcasts may have talked about it, but I just haven't seen it. The different player types. So you can kind of use these to identify how you play as a player, and can also help you build decks around. Like, once I identified what kind of player I was, it helped me know what decks I have the most fun playing, as well as just knowing in the future what kind of decks I'm going to be making. But it also tells you kind of how other people are, what decks they like playing, and it'll kind of you get an insight on how they play, and that helps you as well. And it's also just kind of fun to know. So the 3 player types are Timmy, Johnny, and Spike.
Right.
And each one is, a type of player, and each has their own specific things they like or dislike or whatever. So I am personally a Timmy. And as I said before, I like playing big, dumb creatures that punch you in the face and giant spells, which is exactly what Timmy likes. He doesn't really even care about winning. He just, as long as he got to play a big dude or a big spell that did what he wanted to, he's happy. Yeah. A Timmy's the most social archetype, which I think all Commander players or anyone who plays casual Magic like that, Commander, Oathbreaker, they're going to be a Timmy in some aspect.
That makes sense.
And most people are going to be some or all 3 of these, but they're gonna have one that outshines the other. Like, I'm a Timmy and a little bit of a Johnny. Yeah. Not so much of a Spike. But Timmy is the most social archetype. They like. It's why it draws people to Commander who are Timmys. They like to try new formats, which explains why not only we tried Commander and loved it, but why we're getting into Oathbreaker as well.
Very social, political.
Yeah, social, political. I might not be a good Magic player, but at least I can politicize my way to a victory every now and then, which is kind of how I win most of my games that I win. But Johnny is completely different.
Yeah, Johnny is more of what I am as a player. Like you said, I personally identify as all 3 of them in some aspects when I'm playing Magic, but the one that outshines the most is Johnny, and Johnny is the one who likes building complex combo decks, creative, very wacky, very weird, but it
some
works.
Type of engine to it that once it starts, it kind of churns on its own.
And that's the kind of player that I am, because when I have my own stack going on of just spells that are going off, that's what makes me happy in playing Magic. Like, when I have a board of just tokens on tokens that I was able to combo off with,
or when you play your artifact decks,
or my artifact decks
are all working together in this giant contraption.
It's a giant wheelhouse of just gears for artifacts. They do commonly like to try to break cards, though. Yeah, that's the kind of spin on a Johnny, is they like combos, but they like comboing off to break kind of wacky.
They want to take a card that seems like it would be bad, and they want to break it. Yeah, that's the big thing about Johnny, is like, this card isn't played. Right. How can I take it, put it with a bunch of other cards, and make it work? Yeah. Which is interesting. A Johnny, a person who is a Johnny, is able to take a lot of like draft chaff and dollar rares and things like that and actually make them work. They can go through their binder or other people's binders and take cards that no one's using. And
example of that is Ornithopter. It's a 0/3 for 0. Flying, doesn't do anything. Why is it in my deck? Well, it's in my Prime Speaker Vanifar deck, my tutor deck.
I hate playing against that deck.
And I can get a card out that is the Tidespout Tyrant, which I believe is a 7-drop, so it's 5 blue. 8-drop, sorry. And whenever you cast a spell, you bounce something to someone's hand. And so I have a combo in that deck where I can just drop Ornithopter. I have another creature out that bounces Ornithopter to my hand, and I can infinitely bounce cards to people's hands only if I have another copy of Tidespout Tyrant on the field. It's just really fun. It's broken. It's literally like a 20-cent card. Why is it in anybody's deck? But you can use cards like that. That's why I identify as a Johnny. One of the types that neither of us can really identify with, though, is a Spike.
Yeah, so Spike is a competitive player.
Yeah.
Most of the time, Spikes aren't going to really bother with Commander. Or if they're going to play Commander, it's going to be competitive EDH or CEDH. And that's just because they want to kind of show how good they are, show off their deck and how good it is. They're good at judging new cards, which is something we might not be as good about because we might be like, oh man, this is really sweet. And then
I have Ornithopter in my deck.
We play it. All right, true. We play it and we're like, oh, this isn't really efficient. This isn't really doing well. I could probably play something better. And because they're so competitive, they want to just find the best deck. They're not someone who wants to sit back and create their own deck list and sift through cards and figure out what works and what doesn't work. They're gonna go the path of least resistance. They're gonna net deck, which some people don't like that word. They're gonna net deck. They're gonna go online, see what deck is doing well, which one has one GPs and stuff like that, and like they're gonna play that deck, or they're gonna go on EDH Rec and they're going to look up CEDH decks, competitive EDH decks, and they're going to, EDH, by the way, is Commander. It's another name for it, Elder Dragon Highlander, which is what it used to be called before Wizards of the Coast picked it up and decided, copyright reasons, we can't use that.
Dang, it sounds so much cooler.
I know. But they're gonna if they're gonna play Commander, it's gonna be CEDH and things like that. But yeah, we're not that player. None of our decks, except maybe your Vanifar deck, is competitive, just because the Vanifar deck can go off on turn 3.
And if I can exchange, when I originally built the deck, it was I can win turn 3 with infinite combos.
Which is definitely competitive.
Which is very competitive.
Most of our decks, they're not doing much until turn 4 or 5.
And then I was just like, wow, I really didn't mean to build this deck this way.
Yeah.
I want it to be more of a tutor our big guys and do stuff.
And because of that, it's your least played deck.
Yes. Yeah, I keep it off to the side because I'm like, I'm not going to play this deck unless I know I'm playing against other decks that can go off quick.
Just the type of Magic players we are, we want to play something fun, and we want other people to play fun. Like I took like Kozilek and Ulamog out of my Joda deck. And I put just big dumb sea creatures in there instead. Just because whenever I played them, I won the game and everyone was just kind of like, whatever. I'd rather win the game by like putting down some dudes, taking a couple turns, and smashing people's faces.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I don't know, it's just the type of player we are.
Yeah.
If a deck is winning too much, we'll tone it down a little bit.
Definitely.
Most of our decks, I would say, are probably in the focus to optimized. Yeah, like my Joda deck's probably optimized.
Yeah, my Brago Eternal King is pretty optimized, along with obviously Vanifar.
Yeah. So we're not competitive by any stretch of the means. He built that one deck that's competitive on accident. I don't think I've ever built a competitive deck. Just because.
Whoa! This goes infinite. What?
As a Johnny
totally
or as a Timmy, I don't know. I want to play big things. I don't want to play nothing but efficient things that win.
Vanifar plays big things. It's just quick.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, so that's the player types. Obviously, we have a little less to say about Spike just because we aren't Spikes.
We've never been ones that played. I mean, even FNM, Modern, Legacy.
I was gonna say it probably explains why we always got our butt kicked whenever we tried to enter an FNM.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's just the type of players that we are, though, and the things that we hope to do for this channel specifically, and then this new format that has been coming out, that has come out.
Yeah, like
we're very focused on.
Like we were saying before, go ahead, check Oathbreaker out, build some decks, get your friends into it, have them build a couple decks, play and test it out, because it's a really good format, and we think it's going to do very well. And we're having a lot of fun with it. We'll play it no matter what, probably from here on out.
Yeah.
But yeah, go to what is it?
Weirdcards.org, and then we'll link. I'm not too sure of Magic Kids right off the top of my head. They're just the fundraising site based off of weirdcards.org. That'll be down in the description too. And is there anything else we want to link to?
Yeah. Well, just keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Yeah. We'll be having deck techs and gameplay videos coming out soon.
Very soon.
So go ahead, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get all those notifications. Yeah. We have a Twitter and an Instagram.
We do. Yeah.
Go ahead and follow those.
Our Twitter is at MTGTapped, and then our Instagram is TappedMTG, so just the other way around. Or just type in Tapped into Magic. You'll find it either way up there.
Yep, just look for the Buddha over the metal lotus flower.
With the symbols floating around it. Pretty sweet.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
That's all we have to talk about.
I just want to say thank you guys for listening, watching.
Definitely.
We'll be back soon, and until next time.
Yeah.
See ya.